Hi everyone, today I'm so pleased to finally play and demo the Mesa Dual Rectifier Roadster. I would also like to thank my friend Luke from Amplitubes. This is the reason why I'm playing on this amplifier today. Amplitubes is a shop where you can get tons of used amplifiers, rare gems, and of course all of them are inspected. Well, actually you can find amplifiers, cabinets, basses, guitars, effects, and whatnot. So go give them a try, Amplitubes, and once again, thank you, Luke. So unlike a normal dual rectifier, the Roadster gives you tons of options per channel. Yeah. Each channel controls its own reverb. Each channel gets its own wattage, meaning you can choose between 150 watts, although I've tried both, and to me it's 100 watts per channel. That's the best sound you're gonna get from that amplifier. And of course, you decide which kind of tracking you want. Do you want tube rectifying or diode rectifying per channel? Normally, that's not how it works with dual rectifiers, but this amplifier lets you choose per channel. So each channel has all of this and 3 modes per channel. And on top of that, for all of the channels, you can decide if you have bold or spongy involved. Bold being the full voltage, and spongy kind of drops the voltage a bit, like you would normally do with a variac. It means that the sound's going to be a bit more squash, you get more sag, and it's pretty cool to play with. Try it. So before we start, 1 or 2 things. First of all, it's a Boogie. So read the manual. It's very important because each knob really interacts with the next one in the signal chain. Each channel can replicate the channel before, but it's not really the same thing, so read the manual. It's really important, and I think this is why most people find Mesa Boogies hard to understand, because they try to apply the normal logic to these amplifiers, but Mesa Boogies designed their whole thing differently from other amplifiers, and I think, to me, it's one of the cool things about Mesa Boogies. It's its own thing. It's living. Like, you have to learn how to use your gear, and you kind of get to love it, because once you get it, once you understand how it works, it's fun and it's rewarding. So this is the clean. And now fat, the exact same settings. We're still on the tube rectification because I think this is what suits this amplifier the best for clean tones, because it adds more warmth, more roundness, I would say, also to the sound. Now we're in the tweed mode. I'm going also with what Mesa Boogie recommends for that amplifier, because settings are very powerful on that amplifier. However, I would say that it's more of a start there and go your way. Meaning that what is recommended by Mesa Boogie right now is not necessarily what will end up being your settings. So this is what they recommend for the tweed, what they call it tweed howl. Let's max the gain, max the treble. Take out the presence, pull a little more bass, there we go. Just for fun, let's try it in spongy. That was channel 1, that was fun on channel 1. Now we're going to go to channel 2. Channel 2 is basically the same thing for the 2 first modes, meaning clean and fat, But then we get to the Brit channel, and we're going to showcase the Brit channel right now. British mode is kind of different. First of all, gain is really important on the British mode. Treble is, of course, because it's going to control your overall response. This is where I like it. But you can push it even more, but we're gonna, put less treble and less mid on that. Maybe like this. And if I dial back again, you'll see what happens if I play with the treble. This is high treble, low treble, which is not that bad, but if we keep it around, Mesa says, like, let's say between 11 o'clock and 1:30. Mids. Less mids. Which is not that bad, but I think I prefer, a little bit more mids. Bass lip. This is kind of a cool setting. And let's adjust, presence to taste. Now let's try it with different rectifying modes and the bold or spongy. So once again, this is bold. And now let's try the rectifying tubes. And now we are back for channel 3. Right now we're on the raw mode. I've put the rectifying tube, and we're of course 100 watts bold. This was raw. Let's put it in vintage mode. And now in vintage mode, we're going to put a little bit more mid. Bass is going to stay that way. Presence going to go up. And this is what we get on vintage mode with these settings. Diode rectification incoming. And this amplifier, like I said, is very, very influenced by the quantity of treble you put. Let's put the gain totally at noon, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So this is the sound by itself right now. Everybody recognizes that. So look at where the mid is, but the more treble we put, we hear more mids and more bass. But if we put less treble, let's say treble agnew here, less and less treble. And there's a weird trick with rectifiers. If you take out all the treble, look at what happens. Kind of a weird mid hump, and there's place for mid and presence now. If we take out the mids, we take out some bass. If we add more mids, we're having a tighter sound. It's a very complicated amp. This is why most people associate rectifiers with a boomy sound, because you have to invest lots of time in it to understand how it works. Like I said, I did read the manual, but to be honest with you, I would need weeks to totally understand that amplifier and to get what I want from it each time I'm dialing in. However, I've found some cool tricks. Here's one. So if you get treble here, mid kind of here, and bass here with that kind of settings on the presence, this is what you get. I think it's cool. And now, if you want to get something more Van Halen-y, technically, the vintage mode on this amplifier is kind of really inspired from the Soldano Slow. So if you, let's say, push it towards it, you kind of get a kind of sound that normally you would hear on the F.U.C.K. album from Van Halen. And let's just, for the fun of it, let's push it into spongy mode. Mesa Boogie implies that channel 3 is optimized for raw and vintage sounds. It said that the presence knob max here is pretty equal to what this presence knob would normally do around here, if I understood correctly. Meaning that whatever you're going to get on the modern mode here doesn't equate to what you're going to get on channel 4. So this is why if you want to get the full 2000s modern scooped recto sound, you better aim for it on channel 4. However, I think it's pretty cool what you can find on this mode here. We have diode rectification, we've got full power, we're on the bold, and finally we're gonna hear channel 3 on modern mode right here. By the way, this is the difference between vintage and modern. So this is same settings vintage. Putting more mids will actually tame the bass a bit. So let's dial a bit less of bass, a bit less of, and I'm trying to get a specific sound. You're gonna find it right now. Now, the main reason why people buy dual rectifiers normally would be for the modern mode on the last channel. And I'm saying the last channel because this one has 4. The most common ones are going to be 3-channel rectifiers. And if you're lucky enough, you can find a 1990s dual rectifiers, which has 2 channels, which are pretty sought after. But this one has 4. And the modern mode is kind of the sought after sound because it is what defines sound of, I would say, the sound of new metal, the sound of punk rock as much. Let's just say right now we're in drop D. which is very 2000 like. Gain is about at 1 o'clock, treble 2. Mid's gonna be put, you know, around 11. Bass gonna be around noon, but bass gonna be really present now. And present's gonna get, you know, around 1 o'clock. This is what you get. It is a very bassy sound, however, if you want to control it without touching the bass knob, look at that. First of all, we're going to take a little bit less gain on that sound. This is more like it. We're going to take out treble. We're losing definition, but we're going to gain it with more mids, sorry. Now we can add some presence, but we're not really affecting the tone, so we need a little more treble. And just like that, there's a little less bass and we didn't really touch the bass knob. But if we put more gain on that sound, we get more of everything else. And this amp has a more polished sound, let's say, than the other dual rectifiers. This is what has been told. This is what I've noticed because I've played several rectifiers. This is more of a studio version, let's say. It's been also told that this one's a bit darker. However, I like my amplifiers a bit on the darker side, even if I'm a Marshall guy. This is why dual rectifiers also get boosted, because if you get to that point with that much saturation, you don't have a lot of definition. Now we're just going to put it unboosted so you guys can understand how awesome this amplifier is by itself, just for the sole fun of playing. This is Tubes. We're unboosted on the tube rectification, and now it is boosted with the Tube Screamer because it's a classic and because you guys want it. Tube Screamer with level full on, gain at 0, a bit more, let's say tone is about 1 o'clock, I mean. And now this is the Tube Screamer with full diode, full 100 watts, and we're on bowl. So final thoughts. First of all, this amplifier can do tons and tons of different tones. It's a jack of all trade, but master of what dual rectifiers do. Meaning that, yes, it has a Brit mode, it has a tweed mode, but it's not a tweed, it's not a British amplifier. It's always going to have that Mesa flavor all over it. I think it's great. I think this is why you should consider getting one and at least try one. And on top of everything else that I've said, it is beautiful. It is stunning. I think having great looking gear is part of the fun. As much as I'm having fun playing with analog gear, it's fun to turn knobs, it's fun to tune your amplifier by touching it, and I think this is why this amplifier has not only a ton of character, but it also has aura. So that's it for today. I want you guys to tell me, do you want me to play a more kind of Strat type of amplifier next time, or we just keep on going with these and we play a Strat anyway because it's tons of fun? Tell me. Bye.